Welcome to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast, where you can learn and be inspired by real-world examples of how technology is transforming businesses and reshaping industries in a language everyone can understand. Here is your host, Neil C. Hughes.
Welcome back to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast. How are you all doing out there in internet land? Remember, email me, techblogwriter@outlook.com. Share with me what you've been up to recently. But today, I've invited Rudzinski onto the podcast to learn more about his story, how they leverage technology, and providing sound technical leadership for non-technical organizations. And we're going to be talking about everything from entrepreneurship, pivoting a business, business growth, building processes with technology, and emerging technologies too. So buckle up and hold on tight so I can beam your ears all the way to San Diego, where Rich is waiting to speak with us. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, super excited. Thanks again for having me on, Neil. My name is Rudzinski. I'm the CEO and founder of Tragic Media. We are a technology and software consulting firm based here in San Diego, but we help businesses all over the nation and the world, from startups to growing businesses to enterprises, help them to launch, transform, and scale solutions leveraging the latest technologies from web to mobile to cloud. We're really the experts to help them tackle any of their biggest technology challenges.
Now, although this is a daily tech podcast, I am intrigued and fascinated by the human stories behind those tech journeys. And I believe that you actually had an entrepreneurial spirit from a very young age and found different ways to express that while you were growing up. So can I ask that you share that origin story and where your love of tech came from?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I've loved technology from a very young age. My uncle was in the computer industry and always, had a number of different new platforms and technologies that he'd share with us. So he helped my family. We got a computer at a very young age, and I was able to kind of really mess around with that. I got really, kind of engrossed in the early Windows OS systems and was a young gamer from a very young age. And then I think coupled with that was this kind of entrepreneurial spirit inside of me. I remember working with my friends, and we were selling candy on the playground in early grade school. That continued through various ventures in high school and on to college. And I think as I developed my career, I've always been doing multiple things on the side, always kind of spinning different plates and coming up with different ideas and seeing where the future might have the best path and growth for myself.
And from there, you did go on to start your current venture, Tragic Media, back in 2009. It must be incredibly hard to think just how quickly the time has gone now. But,
yeah.
But that was, I believe, after working as a technology consultant for a variety of digital agencies. But can you tell me about the problems that you set out to solve with technology from the outset?
Yeah, of course. I never really fully had this idea that I'm going to start my, an agency. It just kind of seemed to happen naturally as I progressed in my consulting. I was in the digital service industry working at a growing agency. This kind of coincided with the 2008 recession. I was looking for a new job, looking for some growth in my career, and just wasn't really finding it. So I jumped off and decided to take on consulting full time. And it was during this time that I noticed that agencies had a bigger issue with their larger technology projects. A lot of them were design or marketing focused. They had maybe an engineer or two on staff, but a lot of times they'd work with outside developers, or they'd try to work with outside development agencies, whether that was overseas or in the US, whether it was an individual contractor or, a team of them. And I saw this continued struggle that would happen from even early on, improper scoping, mismanagement of expectations, and then ultimately the poor production of that end product that they were delivering. And I saw an opportunity here for my to build a company to really help solve these challenges. So originally, Tragic Media was a white label solution for other agencies. We'd come in and help them to scope, manage, and execute their more complex projects. Through that, we got to work with some really, really great companies, GM and Pixar and Lego and a number of other really big national brands, and also got to see how these work collaboratively with these agencies to produce this top level work. And then as we continued to grow, we saw that this problem really perpetuated, throughout all businesses as they tried to tackle new technologies and new solutions. Even ones that had, pretty good engineering firms or IT departments, they really lacked being on that cutting edge of new software, new technology, and being able to find out which ones they should really leverage for their businesses to help them grow, and which ones, maybe were just time or effort that it was worth to really make an impact for them. So then we started, evolving into being more of a consultation shop for everybody. We actually, the first, many years, we didn't even have our own website. We worked very much behind the scenes. And then over that time, we started to grow our presence, reach out to, actual individual businesses and work with them. And now we really have evolved away from the white labels kind of path. And now we partner long-term with our clients. So we help them to either build new software solutions and then support and scale that over the long term, or we come in and help them to manage their existing infrastructure, modernize it, grow it, and keep everything up to date and just running efficiently for their organization.
I love that. And one of the reasons that I started this tech podcast was to try and be a bridge between technology and businesses and put it in a language that everyone can understand, not just a few techies and technologists. And that's one of the reasons I invited you on the podcast today, because I feel that you thrive in a technical leadership role, but for non-technical organizations. So I've got to ask, do you think that bridge between these two worlds is more important than ever now?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I know you've mentioned this on a couple of your more recent podcasts, is just talking about like this, the shift and acceleration that's happened, from this pandemic. And every business, even more so than before, has to be a tech-enabled business. It's just, the reality of the world that we're in today. So not all organizations are really geared for that. And like I said, even ones that are on the forefront that are, doing really cool things, they don't always have that really strong technology backing, or maybe they're just trying to push that envelope so far that they need, some help kind of getting there. And I think that is always something that I've done really well with. I have a good kind of, balance of the right brain, left brain, so I can talk to my engineering team and really understand the details of the problem or the solution that we're coming up with. And then I can translate that to a business owner and help them understand, the pros, the cons, the level of effort, the risk, and to make really well-informed decisions. And I think that is, like you said, just more important now than ever before, because businesses are almost being forced into this new realm that we're in today. And not all of them are 100% ready for that.
Is that something that you enjoy doing as well?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's kind of, bringing these worlds together. I think on the one hand, it's helping businesses and empowering them, especially ones that maybe, are a little bit hesitant about using new technologies or just don't have the expertise to make the right decisions. And, they can feel like they have a long-term partner that is looking out for their best interests and helping them to get there, in steps. And then, by that, we also get to always work on new, exciting, challenging projects, because we're working with such a wide variety of different businesses that we can bring these different problems, to our engineering team and come up with some really different solutions, because not every project looks like the other one.
And if we do have any business leaders listening, like we're talking about here, that need a little guidance, know where they need to get to, but have no idea how to get there, can you tell me a little bit more about how you're building processes with technology?
Absolutely. I mean, like I said before, each project is totally different from the next one. So we have a very holistic kind of approach to how we come to it. It's really about understanding, a business's, current problems, understanding where they're trying to get, understanding their budget, their timeline. And then this builds kind of this realm of constraints that then we can say, okay, this is a great solution for you because we can get off the ground running fast, or this is good for you because we're going to spend a little bit more time up front building a custom solution, but then over the long term, it's going to be able to scale bigger than any of these other, kind of off the shelf solutions can do for you. So we don't just have one thing that we're selling to companies. We're not just containerized Kubernetes for them, every single time or anything like that. We really come to the table with an open mind and understand where this business is, where they're trying to get, and then helping them to figure out what technology can help enable them to get there faster, better, cheaper, whatever it might be.
And there is so many emerging technologies at the moment, and there's so much to be excited about. What excites me is when they all begin to converge and bring up new opportunities. But is there anything in particular that excites you right now?
Yeah, I think it's this overarching kind of like integration of our real worlds and the digital world. Like that has been something that is continuously growing and growing. But I feel like, especially in the last few years and in the coming few years, we're going to see a really big push towards that. So, IoT, AR, these types of technologies are still a little bit in their infancy and they're just budding. And I think the general consumer maybe has some limited interactions with them right now, but in the coming years, that is going to grow exponentially. And I think those are some really exciting areas that we're starting to play around in a little bit for ourselves and for our clients. And one that I think in the near term is going to accelerate very quickly.
And the world has changed dramatically in the last 18 months. So I'm curious, are you seeing or seeing an increase in how you're helping businesses actually pivot and try different avenues at the moment?
For us, it hasn't been a huge shift in the work that we're doing. We're still helping startups build new software. So there's been a couple of projects of that. I think that our business partnerships kind of slowed during the pandemic because businesses were unsure of what was happening and what the future held. So they all kind of like pulled in a lot of their kind of riskier projects or some of their bigger initiatives so that until they could like kind of get the ground underneath them. So I think there was this initial like pull back to kind of see what was happening. And then slowly businesses have started to, I think, take steps. I mean, there was obviously like this initial shift of like, we need to be online. We need to present new messaging about the pandemic and how we're interacting with our customers or our users. But that impacted our clientele a little bit less. And I think that it's in these coming, it's really taken, I think, until like Q2 here for a lot of businesses to really wrap their heads around what changes and shifts they really want to make and where their business is going to go now, kind of post-pandemic. So before, it was a lot of kind of band-aids and messaging and helping to, maybe enable some services that were previously in person to be online. But now I think there's this bigger shift towards like, how are we going to be a more digitally enabled business for the long term versus because they see this as just an ongoing thing and it wasn't just a temporary, 3-month shift in how they need to think or operate.
Before a guest comes on the podcast, I always try and do a little bit of research. And I learned that you're growing a sub-brand focused on helping organizations with IoT integrations and system implementations too. Again, sounds incredibly cool. But can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, we have a couple different fun initiatives going on right now. We are partnering with a couple different startups and building some of their IoT product offerings. And my goal is to build that into kind of a secondary brand focus where we will help build custom sensor integrations and different things like that to help businesses take advantage of this emerging, IoT sphere. And then we have some other exciting kind of software products that we're also working on too. Multi-cloud Chrome extension to let you manage all your cloud drive data all in one place called Drive Anywhere. We also have another piece of software coming out, it's getoversight.io, and it's geared towards helping software teams better manage their projects and their teams and productivity. Like I was saying before, I'm always spinning multiple plates, kind of seeing, what we can best build to take advantage of the growth of technology in the, coming future. So not only for ourselves or not only for our clients and where we're helping them with, consulting on new technologies, like some of these more advanced cloud offerings, Kubernetes offerings and different things like that. And then also on the other end, I'm doing, sensor integrations, service mesh integrations, and getting more into the IoT sphere, and then building out some software that helps other people in this industry, just better manage the things that they're working on.
And for the young startup founders listening at the beginning of their journey, if you were to look back at your career from that kid selling candy at school to where you are now, what would you say the biggest lessons is that you've learned about entrepreneurship and technology throughout your career?
I think like two of my bigger takeaways are like, don't force your vision. Really always be open to the influence and new ideas around you, new technologies around you. And also, your partners and your teammates, the ideas and influence that they're bringing to the table. And then the other piece is just that like things happen iteratively. All good software is iterative. Same thing goes for business. A lot of times as entrepreneurs, you look up at, maybe others in the industry and they're just so much larger than you, and it can be a little bit daunting, but, just remember they started small too. And there's a lot of strengths and benefits to being a smaller team and versus a larger organization. So really lean in on that and, be fast and nimble and iterate fast.
And a question that I always like to ask my guests is if there is a particular song or piece of music that has been the soundtrack to their life or inspired you throughout your career or just helps you get your head in the zone before landing that big meeting or going on stage. Is there a particular song that means anything to you?
Oh, this is great. Before I was in tech, I was in like the music scene, did live sound for a long time and some recording and everything like that. So music means a lot to me. And I feel like the bands and the songs really depend on the mood I'm in and, what I'm trying to tackle or conquer. But also I'm definitely a pretty deep into like the grind and crust scene, hardcore punk. And I don't want to, drop that on your playlist necessarily. So I think I'm going to go with Painkiller by Judas Priest. I feel like heavy metal is just so in line with technology, with that, the driving pulse, with the electric sounds. And I think that's just a really solid one of my favorites.
Great track there as well. At least you didn't go with Breaking the Law. That could have sent out the wrong message.
That's a good one too. Yeah. There's a number that came to mind. It's just, that one I think just has something special meaning to me. So.
Well, before I let you go, for anyone wanting to find out more about Tragic Media, the work you're doing, or how to contact your team, what's the best starting point?
Yeah, absolutely. Come connect with us on LinkedIn. I'm really active on there, Tragic Rich, or you can look up Tragic Media, follow our brand. Check out our company website, tragic.media. It's a pretty fun website. So, worth your time to just take a gander at that. And if you're interested in learning more, definitely sign up for our newsletter, put that out regularly with some of the fun, exciting things that we're working on. Any business owners that are looking to build new software solutions or, move to the cloud or optimize their infrastructure, please reach out to me. Happy to, connect, give a free consultation to see if we might be a good solution for you. And if not, I'm sure I have a really good reference because I'm, pretty deep in this field and know a number of other colleagues with other businesses that do complementary services and stuff.
Well, I love how you guys are focusing on providing sound technical leadership, but for non-technical organizations. I think being that bridge is so important. In fact, more important than ever now, from web to apps to the cloud and beyond. And so I wish you the best of luck for the future. But more than anything, just thank you for taking the time to share your story with me today.
Thanks so much, Neil. I really appreciate you having me on. This was super great and looking forward to your upcoming episodes.
I loved hearing about today's guest story and how Rich has always had an entrepreneurial spirit and found different ways to express it while growing up. And from starting his current venture, Tragic Media, way back in 2009 after working as a technology consultant for a variety of digital agencies, and how he saw that common theme of project overages, disappointed clients, outsourcing gone awry, and actually sought to build a company that solved those problems in everything from web to apps to the cloud and beyond. And it's great to hear how he helped them build a technology foundation to scale. But he's not standing still at all in that process, and being in that process of building out SaaS products for software team reporting, as well as working to grow a sub-brand focused on helping organizations with IoT integrations and system implementations. All incredibly cool. But that was Richard's story today. Do you have a story? Do you have insights around anything we discussed? Whatever it is, remember, email me, techblogwriter@outlook.com. My website is techblogwriter.co.uk. Keep your insights coming in. That's what makes this podcast what it is. So a big thank you for listening. And until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thank you for listening to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast with Neil C. Hughes. Remember, technology works best when it brings people together.